Okay, we are back, everyone. This is Brother Doug with the YaramYahu group. I'm with my brother D-Rail that has graced us with his presence today, and we are with Sister Sally, my brother Dennis, and Brother Bobby's sister Kristen, and my sister Shoshana, who's going to lead us in the reading. We are reading Jeremiah, YaramYahu, Chapter 12. This is part 4 in our Shabbat study. So she will be starting YaramYahu chapter 12, and we'll let her take it away.
And I'm reading from the Hallelujah Scriptures. Righteous are you, O Yahuwah, when I plead with you. Indeed, let me speak with you about right rulings. Why has the way of the wicked prospered? All the workers of treachery are at ease. You have planted them, and they have taken root. They grow and they bear root. You are near in their mouth, but far from their kidneys. But you have known me, O Yahuwah. You see me, and you have tried my heart toward you. Draw them away like sheep for slaughter, and kadosh them for the day of slaughter. How long shall the land mourn, and the plants of every field wither? The birds and beasts are consumed for the evil of those who dwell there, because they said, He does not see our latter ending. But if you have run with the footmen and have wearied, they have wearied you, then how do you contend with horses? And if in the land of peace you feel safe, then how do you manage in the pride of the Yarden? For even your brothers, the house of your father, even they have betrayed you. Even they have cried aloud after you. Do not believe them, even though they speak smooth words to you. I have forsaken my house. I have left my inheritance. I have given the beloved of my being into the hand of her enemies. My inheritance has become to me like a lion in the forest. He cries out against me, therefore I have hated it. My inheritance is to me like a speckled bird of prey. The birds of prey all around are against her. Go gather all the beasts of the field and bring them to devour. Many shepherds have destroyed my vineyard. They have trodden my portion underfoot. They have made my pleasant portion become a deserted wilderness. They have laid it waste, a waste. It mourns to me. All the land is laid waste because no one takes it to heart. The ravagers have come on all the bare heights in the wilderness, for the sword of Yahuwah is devouring from one end of the land to the other end of the land. There is no peace to any flesh. They have sown wheat, but reap thorns. They have exhausted themselves. They do not profit. And they shall be ashamed of your harvest because of the burning displeasure of Yahuwah. Thus says Yahuwah, as for all my evil neighbors who touch the inheritance, which I have caused my people, Yisrael, to inherit, see, I am plucking them out of their land, and I shall pluck out the house of Yehudah from their midst. And it shall be, after my plucking them out, I shall return and have compassion on them, and bring them back, everyone to his inheritance and everyone to his land. And it shall be, if they learn well the ways of my people, to swear by my name as Yahuwah lives, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then they shall be established in the midst of my people. But if they do not obey, I shall pluck up, and destroy that nation, declares Yahuwah. Boy, I hope they do. I hope they learn, because my brother and I come from Yehudah. This is not a chapter to marry about. it's a very sobering chapter.
Yeah, the Christianity is not the way of the people. They do not do Yahuwah's ways. They do not abide his Torah. They don't swear by his name. We know that.
No.
And unfortunately, our brothers and sisters in Yahudah, they listen to the rabbis, and they don't believe in Yahusha.
They go further back.
I really got a picture of Christianity from, I think it's verse 15 or 16, where it says, instead of as surely as Yahuwah lives, just in mine it's in parentheses, so maybe this is like something by my translator, but it says in parentheses, just as they taught my people to swear by the name of Baal.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like kind of like how pastors are always reading scripture in church, and they'll say, as the Lord lives. They'll be reading verses like this and say, so technically they're saying as Baal lives, because Baal is Lord.
Mm-hmm.
The Hebrew Baal equals Lord in English. So
Yeah.
when you hear pastors saying, as the Lord lives, I've had this dream last night. Yeah, I don't think Yahuwah's giving them that dream. So.
It's crazy. The first verse in here, I know I'm guilty of asking too this question. First verse goes, why has the way of the wrong prospered? All the workers of treachery are at ease. I've asked that question. I'm definitely guilty of that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds like Job.
It's because they do the work of Hasatan. Hasatan's the prince of this world. I know the answer now, but I'm just saying I know that I've definitely asked this question before.
Working our fingers to the bone. Yep.
Yeah, Job.
We've prospered, but in the spirit, in the Ruach.
Hallelujah.
That is something that they do not have. You cannot put a value on that.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually it says in Proverbs, it says that even though the wicked, they put all their trust in their riches and stuff, once they go to the grave, their riches go to the righteous. It says that their wealth goes to the righteous, so
yeah.
they slave away
to all the wealth of those who are wicked. So
in a way, they don't prosper. They might prosper when they're alive, but once they're dead, where's their riches? It's given to someone else. How do they reap the rewards of being rich once they die? They're in the grave. They go to the same place that a normal person or a poor person goes. They go to Sheol to rest until the judgment. So everyone that has died up to this point, and my sister Kristen actually put this on Facebook, everyone up to this point is all in the grave right now. Every human being that has died, no one's in heaven, no one's in the lake of fire, no one's in Gehenna or heaven right now. We have to wait for that resurrection. So when a rich person's like, oh, I got all this, just keep it in your mind. Yeah, they're going to the same place we're going. So all these riches mean nothing. They're going to slave away, try to become billionaires like Bill Gates. Well, guess what? When Bill Gates drops dead, where's his money going to go to? Where's all of Rockefeller's billion?
Their children inherit their riches, but most of their children have become so pampered in luxury, they don't know how to inherit money. They don't know what to do with it. They squander it.
They'll probably squander it most likely because they've been, all the kids know is how to spend money, not how to make it. So, even when it goes to their kids, I hate to say it, their kids are going to waste their money away on materialistic things. Like, especially in this new generation, the generation that I call the millennials, and, the generations that are coming up now, all they know how to do is spend money. It's all they know how to do. So, when their kids inherit their riches, it's going to all go away. And they're,
Store my treasures in heaven.
Yeah. Our treasures are in heaven. And even Yahushua says himself, store your treasure in heaven. Or he actually says where your heart is where your treasure shall be also. So
that verse caught me too, Bobby. When I seen that too, I was like, yep, that was me. I was guilty of that.
yeah. All of us are like, oh, why do they prosper? Why do they have so much of this and so much of that? And we as humans just look at the materialistic things and we think, oh, they made it. Not realizing that it ain't going to be theirs when they die. They can't take it with them.
Well,
We'll see if they made it or not.
is that those with the most money are controlling the world, and they're all evil. And that's why we're going to have evil in the end time, so humongously evil, because they who have controlled the earth are bringing them forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I believe Yahuwah allows them to prosper for a time because he allows wickedness to get to a certain point before he acts. Like there's a verse in the book of Genesis where he actually says to Abraham, these sins of the Amorites has not yet gone.
He has to fill the cup.
It has to fill the cup.
Right.
So it has to fill up to heaven. Where Yahuwah is destroying Babylon in Revelations 18 and all that, he says her sins have went all the way up to heaven. So there's a law that even Yahuwah holds himself to. He allows wickedness to continue and get worse and worse until it gets to a point where he has to act. And
there's a reason. There's a reason why he does this. Because humans are like animals. We won't turn around until there's a big reason right in front of us, like a big boulder coming to smash our heads, before we turn around and go the other way. And that's why he lets evil come to its full. Here, look at this. Do you want this, or do you want my way of peace and love and kindness? It's simple, but that's what most people have to have hit. They have to hit that boulder before they turn around. It's sad.
Yep. I agree. Stubborn.
Mm-hmm. That's what we are, bunch of stubborn hearts.
I've seen animals smarter than the humans.
Well, yeah, they probably are.
They were here first.
They probably are when it comes to obeying the Creator, because there's nothing in them that could rebel. They don't rebel. They follow their instinct.
Like my cat, I think it obeys me more than my kids do.
Yeah. Probably does.
For the most part, I should say.
Did I just hear your cat?
No, the kids upstairs.
Oh, okay, it sounded like a little.
Yeah, two girls upstairs. They're pretty loud.
Yeah. So, let's see here.
So where's the kitty?
My cat?
Mm-hmm.
Passed out over there by the window.
Yeah. He doesn't like the shofar too much. Doesn't
So all he does is sleep. He doesn't even pay rent. Forget about it.
Cats are like that. They get lazy.
Yeah, we are recording, aren't we? Yeah.
Whoops.
Down that bunny trail.
All right, that was a interesting rabbit trail there. All right, so let's see. Basically, so this is pretty much Yahuwah saying to YaramYahu that he's basically abandoned Yehuda. He's saying that I've abandoned my special possession, verse 7 of what we just read, my dearest ones to their enemies. So basically, Yahuwah is saying, at this point, he has to reject them. He has to, he has to cut them off. I mean, we saw this in the beginning of Jeremiah a couple chapters ago, Jeremiah 3. He divorced the northern house. So to be fair, he has to do the same. He has to send away Yehuda. And there's really like a big debate whether he divorced Yehuda too. I don't think it really matters, but it's definitely interesting to think of whether he actually divorced Yehuda or just sent her out. But either way, he sent both of them out. He sent both houses of one people out. So either way. So basically, that's what I got from this last chapter. This is pretty much the last straw for Yahuwah. He feels like he can't get through to them. He's at the last straw, and he feels like he has to, send them out of the land. So I think that was about it for chapter 12.
It's amazing any of us have been called from what our ancestors.
Yeah, Yahusha's death and resurrection definitely gave chances that were not available before. One of the reasons why is because his original people didn't do their job and weren't witnessing to the nations.
Right.
They weren't grafting any people in.
Not many.
They when you really see it, like a lot of the Yahudim, especially around Yahusha's time, didn't even want the northern house to come back. They were like, they made one comment because Yahusha said, "Where I go, you will not be able to follow." And the Pharisees were like, "Oh, where's he going? Is he going to the dispersion among the Greeks?" Like they were like afraid. They were like, "No, we don't want them here. No, don't be grafting them back in." Like so, there was like hatred between the two houses as far as I look at that verse. Like it's kind of like, oh no, I don't want the what is it called, the prodigal child coming back. Like, and that's the way they looked at it. They looked at the northern tribe were the ones that got divorced, and Yehuda's still there. So yeah. Derail, you crack me up. It's so funny this is on recording. All right. Let's see here. So who hasn't unless I'm sorry, Dennis, I'm sorry, Sally. I didn't even realize I had you guys muted the whole time. My bad on that one. But if anyone else wants to read let's see, chapter 13. I think we'll have time for one more chapter before this session is up. I don't see any time running out at this point, so.
Okay. No, I can if you'd like.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. My phone here. Thus Yahuwah said to me, "Go and get yourself a linen girdle, and put it on your loins, but do not put it in water." So I bought a girdle according to the word of Yahuwah, and put it on my loins. And the word of Yahuwah came to me the second time, saying, "Take the girdle that you have bought, which is on your loins, and arise, go to the Euphrates, and hide it there in a hole in the rock." And I went and hid it by the Euphrates as Yahuwah commanded me. And it came to be after many days that Yahuwah said to me, "Arise, go to the Euphrates, and take from there the girdle which I commanded you to hide there." So I went to the Euphrates and dug, and I took the girdle from the place where I had hidden it. And there was the girdle ruined. It was completely useless. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, "Thus says Yahuwah, thus I ruined the pride of Yehuda, and the great pride of Jerusalem. This evil people who refuse to hear my words, who walk in the stubbornness of their heart, and walk after other mighty ones to serve them, and to bow themselves to them, is like this girdle which is completely useless. For as the girdle clings to the loins for of a man, so I have caused all the house of Yisrael and all the house of Yehudah to cling to me, declares Yahuwah. I have become one, to become mine for a people, and for a name, and for a praise, and for an adorning, but they did not listen. And you shall speak to them this word, thus said Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael. Every bottle is to be filled with wine. And when they say to you, do we not know that every bottle should be filled with wine? Then say to them, thus said Yahuwah, see, I am filling all the inhabitants of this land, and the sovereigns who sit on the throne of David, and the priests, Cohen, and the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with drunkenness. And I shall dash them one against another, both the fathers and the sons together, declares Yahuwah. I do not spare, nor pardon, nor have compassion, that I should not destroy them. Listen and give ear. Do not be proud, for Yahuwah has spoken. Give esteem to Yahuwah, your Elohim, before he brings darkness, and before your feet stumble on the dark mountains, and while you are looking for light, he turns it into the shadow of death, makes it gross darkness. And if you do not listen, my being shall weep in secret for your pride, and my eyes bitterly weep and run down with tears, because the flock of Yahuwah shall be taken captive. Say to the sovereign and to the sovereigness mother, humble yourselves, sit down for your rule. The crown of your comeliness has come down. The cities of the south shall be shut up, with no one to open them. Yahudah shall be taken into exile, all of it. She shall be taken into exile completely. Lift up your eyes and see those who come from the north. Here is the flock that was given to you. Your fair sheep, what would you say when he visits you? For you have taught them to be sheep, to be head over you. Do not hang Satan sees you like a woman in labor. And when you say in your heart, why has this come upon me? It is because of your great crookedness that your skirts have been uncovered, your heels made bare. Does a Cushite change his skin and a leopard its spot? You who are taught to do evil are also unable to do good. For I shall scatter them like stubble that passes away by the wind of the wilderness. This is your lot, your measured portion from me, declares Yahuwah, because you have forgotten me and trust in falsehood. I shall even draw your skirts over your face, and your shame shall be seen. Your adulteries and your nightings, the wickedness of your whoring. I have seen your abominations on the hills and the fields. Woe to you, O Jerusalem! How long before you would be made clean? Making an example.
Yeah, I see 17. Because the flock of Yahuwah shall be taken captive. The flock, would that be us? Taken captive? Like say nowadays, like
No, I don't.
Yeah.
This situation is actually referring to what's happening at that moment. This, especially,
it's not a prophecy.
Yeah, in this prophecy, this is referring to Yahudah going to Babylon. So this has already happened.
But what about 25 though? That because you have forgotten me and trust in falsehood, a lot of that goes on now.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible you have Yahudim that have not believed in Yahusha that he could be referring to.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's referring to us like believers in Yahusha. Nah, I would say this is happening to Yahudim that are Old Testament only. Yahudim that are, the BHIs that don't believe in the New Testament.
Talking about the falsehood verse?
Yeah, the falsehood. Well, the verse you just brought up, how it talks about your adultery and your lust, your disgusting idol worship. Well, the idol worship, I would think, would probably be Islam.
Catholic Christianity?
Christianity, mainly Catholicism, because that's where a lot of the idol worship stems from. So if you have Yahudim that are in Catholicism, which a lot of times Yahudim will like marry into, you know, another religion and change their religion, and you see a lot of times like even Christian women marrying an Islam man and becoming Islam. So, you know, that can happen too, where you have Yahudim that are actually Catholic. So I see that being a possibility, but I definitely think Yahuwah is specifically talking to like the Southern House.
Okay.
It's like more of the House of Judah in context that he's really talking to. He's talking to, I mean, he's referring to the house of Yashrael also, but he already kicked them out of the land at this point. He's mainly talking about Yehuda, and that I think there is a verse that says Yehuda and Yashrael. I created you. Yeah, in verse 11 says, I created Yehuda and Yashrael to cling to me, says Yahuwah. So that's the both houses. So yeah, I mean, it could be possible talking about, you know, the natural branches being cut off, and that he's going to send them into captivity. I just personally don't see captivity really happening in the end times, in our end times scenario, where there's going to be people in captivity that are going into captivity in the end times. I think we are technically already in captivity right now.
That's what I was getting at, like right now.
Yeah, right now we're already in it. We're not going to be sent into it. We're already in it.
Since we're not in the land and all.
By us not even being in the land right now, we're technically already in captivity. We're in America, which America, as far as I'm concerned, is a daughter of Babylon.
Oh, heck yeah.
She's one of her daughters. So as far as I'm concerned, we're already in Babylon. So, I mean, if you look at what America's foundings was, you know, we're technically in a Babylonian system. We're in a matrix right now. We're in captivity. So I think, if anything, he's going to be reversing that. It's going to be the reverse effect in the end times. He's going to be bringing his people out of captivity. Like, I believe there's a repeat exodus coming.
Yeah.
I believe that's what's really going to happen. There's going to be a second exodus, a greater exodus, mentioned in the book of Jeremiah, where Yahuwah says, of all the places I scatter you. The reason I really think chapter 13 has to be, a lot of it's referring to that time period, is because Yahuwah says, I will scatter you like chaff. So this is referring to the diaspora, the dispersion. And you'll read in the New Testament that, like I said before, the Pharisees didn't want Yahusha going to the Greeks, because there was a lot of people dispersed that were Israelites that were among the Greeks. A lot of the house of Yashrael, the northern house, was among them, and actually became like Gentiles. And so the Yahudim of Yahusha's time were like, oh no, he better not be going to the dispersion among the Greeks. So I think in context, this is mainly referring to that time period, but it could be in our time period. I'm not ruling out that fact. I'm just saying in context, I think this is more of like what was happening back then. Yahuwah is getting rid of the house of Yehuda. He's sending them to Babylon. This is like around like the Nebuchadnezzar time period. And so this is what kind of what I see when I look at this chapter. This is mainly that time period. It could be end times too.
From 7 all the way like to 11 or 12. I mean, it's pretty some harsh words, man. He's like referring to him as a piece of underwear, pretty much, you know. They're useless. I mean, really, if you think about it, you know, they're dirty people. They're evil. They're useless. You know, they're like the girdle, which is completely useless. That's how far they've gone away from him.
Yeah, I feel like all of us got to this point at some point in our lives where we can relate to the way he's referring to the Yahudim. And actually, for people that don't know, the southern house was not just the Yahudim. It was the Benjamites and the Levites too, just for people to kind of get an understanding of that. Because what happened was with King Solomon, this is just like a history lesson from the Tanakh. You had King Solomon's time. King Solomon was very wicked at a certain later point in his life. Then you had a split of the kingdom. Then you had the northern house with the 10 tribes. there was 10 tribes in the northern house, and then you had like 2 or 3 in the southern. So you had like the 2 main in Yehuda. The house of Yehuda consisted of the tribe of Yehuda and Benjamin and some Levites. So that was the southern house, and that's who Yahuwah is like really referring to in this context. He's referring to them, but also that the northern house did the same thing because he divorced them in chapter 3 of Jeremiah. So you have Yahuwah's kind of combining it in a way in this chapter, but also mainly referring to the southern house. He's saying how they become wasteful, like Deril said. You know, they become useless. And there's even a verse in Jeremiah 3 that says she became more treacherous than her sister Yehuda. So, you know, the northern house actually did worse than this, which I don't know how it's even possible to be worse than this, but the northern house was actually more treacherous. Or no, maybe it was the vice versa. Yehuda became more treacherous than Yashra'al. So you know, there's definitely a separation when he deals with the 2 houses, but then he also combines them sometimes when he's rebuking the whole 12 tribes. So that's the best way to explain that, because in verse 11 it can kind of confuse people. Going to be like, oh, well, he's talking to both of them, but then he goes back to talking to the southern house, and he talks about, and then he references the covenant he made, talking about that, no, this is what Yahuwah means. I will fill everyone in this land with drunkenness from the king sitting on David's throne. Now, if you know the prophecies of the Tanakh, that if David's lineage was to be obedient, that was the prerequisite for there to always be a son of David on the throne. So Yahuwah is technically referencing that covenant right here. But he's saying that every king that's sitting on David's throne will be, technically, they're going to be given a spirit of drunkenness. So Yahuwah's like done with them at this point, like temporarily at this point. He's like, you know what, I'm rejecting you, basically. And no, I don't believe they're forever rejected. But at this point in time, they were rejected. They were about to be kicked out of the land. So,
well, he says he's going to come back for him.
Yeah, he says that I will bring you back, and that's the whole point of the greater Exodus, is to bring all of his people back, all of the believers back. And you know, like I said before, I think our captivity, we're already in our captivity, because a lot of us, I know myself, I consider myself a wild branch. I was never in the land. I'm a Roman. I'm Italian, I'm a Roman. I most likely don't have any Yashra'ite blood in me at all. So I never had the opportunity to be a natural-born Yashra'ite, originally his child in the land. So I basically lived in captivity my whole life in America. So, you know, that's just the reality of it. I've been in captivity. I was raised as a Gentile, and now I'm realizing my true identity in Yahusha is to be part of Yahuwah's chosen people.
And you grafted in.
Now I'm grafted in, and now it's reversed. Instead of us being driven into captivity, he's pulling us out. So the later part of this prophecy, I think, is what is going to happen in our time. I think the regathering will happen in our time. That's my opinion. I think the sifting has already happened. Like the dispersion has already happened, in my personal opinion. That's already been fulfilled multiple times. They were dispersed after 70 AD when the temple was destroyed. For anyone that wants information on that, if you look up the 70 AD destruction of Herod's temple, once that happened, none of the Yashra'ilites really stayed in the land. The Yahudim that were still there in Yahusha's time, they were dispersed. So I personally believe that the dispersion definitely has happened already in my mind.
Well, there's a sifting going on today among Yahuwah's people. the tares are being sifted from the wheat. And at the end, the tares will be plucked up and thrown into the lake of fire, and the wheat gathered into his barn.
Yeah, I think most everybody will agree that when you talk about Israel today, of course, most of it's in America. Most of the Jews are in America. Of course, Australia, Britain, New Zealand, this first everywhere.
Uno momento.
1 minute left. Uno.
Doug, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think this will be the conclusion of our study for today. Just because it's going to be a lot. I'm going to be uploading like 4 different studies now, so it's going to be a lot. But thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you got something out of this study. Please join us again. And if you are not a believer in Yahusha, I pray that you would accept him as your personal Savior today.
I highly advise it.
Yes, thank you. And hopefully you will accept him, so you shall be saved in the end. As it's